All right, let's jump right in. Welcome, my fellow furry, feathered, and scaled friends, to today's Explainer. I'm Professor Whiskers, and today we're going to completely reconstruct what we think we know about one of human history's most misunderstood groups, the Vikings. We're stripping away centuries of human tall tales and pop culture stereotypes and looking at what the actual archaeological evidence tells us. Spoiler alert, these humans were way more sophisticated, kept themselves surprisingly clean, almost up to feline standards actually, and were globally connected in ways that literally shaped the modern world. So I want you to just close your eyes for a second and picture a Viking. Whether you're a loyal hound, a curious parrot, or a fellow discerning feline, chances are you're imagining this massive, dirty, mindless human raider stepping off a wooden boat, wearing this menacing horned helmet. Right? I mean, it's a dramatic image. It's been burned into popular culture through all their movies and comic books. But what if I told you that almost everything in that mental picture you just conjured up is completely undeniably wrong? Let's start with the most iconic piece of gear, the horned helmet. Well, it turns out that image is a complete fabrication. Total myth. It was actually invented by a human costume designer, a guy named Karl Emil Doppler, for Richard Wagner's 1876 opera cycle, The Ring of the Nibelung. Fueled by 19th century theatrical flair and, a bit of German nationalism, the creators just wanted this striking mythic look for their stage heroes. And the human public loved this dramatic, albeit ridiculous, aesthetic so much that it just stuck. It completely overrode actual history. Humans can be so terribly gullible when presented with a good story, can't they? If you want to know what they actually wore on their heads, we have to look at the Jørmungebo helmet. Discovered in Norway dating back to the 10th century, this is literally the only complete Viking helmet ever found by archaeologists. And notice what's glaringly missing? There are absolutely no horns, none. It was built using a super practical method called the Spangenhelm technique. That's really just riveting sturdy iron plates together with a metal strip, and it features a highly functional face guard to protect the eyes and nose. This specific helmet even bears a real sword blow and an arrow puncture, so it definitely saw actual battle. Honestly, iron was incredibly rare and expensive back then, so most everyday Viking warriors probably just wore hard leather caps or relied entirely on their wooden shields to protect their heads. Okay, so if the horned helmets are just a myth born from a human opera, let's tackle a stereotype that personally offends my delicate feline sensibilities. The pervasive idea that Vikings were filthy, unkempt barbarians who just didn't care about their appearance. As creatures who spend a significant portion of our own day grooming, I can assure you, this human assumption couldn't be further from the truth. Unlike a lot of medieval Europe where bathing was, let's be perfectly honest, tragically infrequent and sometimes even viewed with suspicion, Vikings actually placed a massive emphasis on personal hygiene. They bathed regularly. They typically used natural rivers or geothermally heated hot springs, making a strict habit of weekly baths. In fact, it was such a deeply ingrained, celebrated part of their culture that their Old Norse word for Saturday, Laugardagar, literally translates to washing day. It is just so refreshing to find some ancient humans who truly understood the supreme importance of a good, thorough wash. And the archaeological evidence backing up this fastidious behavior? It is scattered everywhere. Excavations all across Scandinavia, as well as their distant settlements in England and Ireland, consistently turn up comprehensive personal grooming kits. We're talking about finely crafted bone and antler combs, an implement I highly approve of, by the way, as well as specialized tweezers, delicate ear cleaning tools, and sharp razors. They even crafted these simple but effective soaps from animal fat and ash to wash away dirt and oils. Plus, historical accounts note they were meticulous about laundering their clothes regularly. Now, this strict adherence to hygiene did a lot more than just keep fleas and bothersome parasites at bay. It actually gave them a massive social advantage. We have historical sources written by some rather frustrated local men, and they suggest that this attention to grooming, having clean hair, tidy, well-kept beards, it made Viking men highly desirable partners to local populations all across Europe. So they weren't just fearsome warriors. They were undoubtedly the best-groomed guys in the room, literally outcompeting the locals simply by taking a bath and brushing their hair. Right, let's move on to our final and maybe most mind-blowing myth to bust. The idea that Vikings were just isolated, violent pirates of the northern seas. Yes, obviously they raided, but viewing them solely through a military lens ignores their true legacy. They were, in fact, highly sophisticated global traders who established vast networks. They actually helped lay the early economic foundations for the modern, deeply interconnected human civilization we observe today. Their economic engine was absolutely brilliant. Viking merchants used their incredible long ships. These were vessels that were exceptionally fast, maneuverable, and uniquely capable of navigating both shallow inland rivers and deep, treacherous open oceans to export precious raw northern goods. They traveled far and wide to trade highly sought-after luxury items. We're talking thick, warm furs, glowing amber, sweet honey, and super valuable walrus ivory. And in exchange for these northern staples, they imported exotic eastern treasures, precious silver, luxurious silk, fragrant spices, and fine, delicate glassware. To make this massive exchange of wealth and culture happen, they created a sprawling Eurasian economic network that's often dubbed the Viking Silk Road. Starting from bustling, noisy Scandinavian trade hubs like Birka in modern-day Sweden, these adventurous traders traveled unbelievably long distances eastward. They navigated treacherous, winding major river systems like the Dnieper and Volga. They even undertook the grueling task of portaging, which means they physically carried their heavy wooden ships over land using logs just to bypass rapids and reach the Caspian and Black Seas. And their ultimate destinations? The incredibly wealthy cosmopolitan markets of the Byzantine Empire and the Abbasid Caliphate, specifically the glorious city of Baghdad. To prove just how globally connected these ancient humans really were, consider the Badal Hoard. This is a Viking Age treasure discovered hidden away in a North Yorkshire field back in 2012. It's packed to the brim with beautiful necklaces, intricate armbands, and heavy silver ingots. Recently, scientists at Oxford University looked closely at the lead isotopes hidden inside the silver, which act essentially as a microscopic chemical fingerprint. And what they found is stunning. While about 2/3 of it came from local European sources, nearly a full third of those silver ingots perfectly matched the distinct chemical signature of silver mined in the Islamic Caliphate. Thanks to this ingenious chemical fingerprinting, we know for a fact this silver was originally minted as Islamic dirhams in regions corresponding to modern-day Iran and Iraq. I mean, just think about the sheer scale of that journey. It traveled thousands of miles across arid deserts and winding rivers via the eastern trade routes, a network known to the Norse as the Ostweg, before being transported all the way to Viking settlements in rainy, windswept England. They were running a truly global supply chain centuries before the dawn of the modern era, connecting entirely different worlds. And it wasn't just silver flowing north, culture and comfort followed right along with it. We see stunning evidence of Eastern luxury popping up in high-status Viking graves. Take the famous 9th century Oseberg ship burial in Norway, for instance. Inside, archaeologists uncovered remnants of incredibly soft, luxurious silk garments, precisely the kind of premium fabric any self-respecting cat would love to nap on. These garments featured intricate patterns and complex weaving techniques distinct to Persian and Central Asian craftsmen. We've even uncovered various Norse artifacts proudly bearing Arabic script inscriptions. This prolonged, globe-spanning contact didn't just move shiny objects from one continent to another. It fundamentally moved ideas, leaving a permanent mark on human culture. We see evidence of advanced metalworking techniques that beautifully blend Eastern and Western artistic styles, like the striking twisted rod neck rings found in that Badal hoard. On top of that, linguistic evidence shows Arabic and Persian loanwords actually entering the Scandinavian language. It was a genuine fusion of civilizations, accelerating the exchange of human knowledge. All this remarkable evidence really forces us to completely rebalance our historical view. As Oxford's Dr. Jane Kershaw strongly argues, we need to balance the dramatic, fiery tales of coastal raids with the much larger reality of highly organized Norsemen brokering complex financial deals in the bustling merchant markets of Baghdad. They were actively shaping global history and laying the groundwork for early modern trade networks just as much with the merchant scale as they were with the warrior's sword. So if the terrifying so-called barbarian Vikings were actually obsessively clean, completely hornless, highly civilized global businessmen who helped build the very foundations of modern international trade, well, it leaves us with one massive question to ponder. What other human histories have been completely distorted by a good theatrical story? Keep your whiskers twitching and your minds incredibly curious the next time you hear about the barbarians of the past. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, my furry friends. Professor Whiskers signing off.
Knowledge grows through sharing. What are your thoughts on today's topic? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe as we continue to grow together.